Do we dare?
Do we dare?
Do we dare?
Let's dare.
How do we start this? What's happening? What's going on?
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Podpodcastcast, the podcast where we review other podcasts.
I'm Sam.
That's Sam, and I'm Honor.
And today...
And I'm...
No. Hey. Wait till you're spoken to.
Okay.
All right?
All right.
Okay?
I'll shut
Silent.
up. I'll be quiet.
Hey, everyone. Welcome to Podpodcastcast, a podcast where we review podcasts. I'm Sam.
And I'm Honor.
And today we have a very special guest who we love dearly. We're so glad. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Podpodcastcast, a podcast where we review podcasts. I'm Sam.
I'm Honor.
And today we have a very special guest for our first ever round table podcast. Yes,
round table.
Round table, as I have been told, as I am being held at gunpoint to say, round table on Podpodcastcast.
You love it.
Listeners,
It's great.
I'm being held against my will.
No.
I
You like a good wordplay. Well, maybe not wordplay, but like a punny thing more than me.
My mind is in a trap. I can only repeat words. This is a prism. Today we have our very first guest on our very first round table. You know him from such hits as that Mr. Krabs at Squidward animation. From commentary on, I think, Spider-Man, Nintendo at some point.
I'm not correcting anything you say. We're going to take this as fact.
It is Brady Walters from the YouTube channel Bradius.
Hello. I'm here.
He's here.
He's here.
It's a little animated guy. I've been looking at. Oh, live action now too.
Yes, true.
Live action.
Both of them.
Live action.
Best of
Go
both
check him out.
worlds.
Now you can see his face on the internet.
True.
Nothing
That-
can hide from the watchful eye.
I can't hide from anybody anymore.
No, it's strange to look at you, Brady. You're fully three-dimensional.
Mm-hmm. Very strange.
Which even in live action, I solidly thought you were made of paper.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's been a strange adjustment.
Oh, to the third dimension.
Yeah.
I imagine that's crazy.
Yeah, lore-wise, it's crazy.
Well, we're glad to have you in the third dimension, Brady, and we're glad to have you on Podpodcastcast.
I'm glad to be here.
Today-
Fun fact about me, I don't listen to a lot of podcasts.
Perfect first guess.
Snake. We have a spy in our midst. We're
Nice work.
we're audiophiles here. We're big fans. I'm gonna have to edit this.
Yeah, you gotta edit
That's
this one.
grim. That does not sound good.
I
Have
don't gotta
fun.
worry about this
I
at
do
all.
not want to do that. Awesome.
Hey, Sam, add 3 air horn sound effects if you enjoyed editing this, and only add 2 if you didn't.
Sad it hurts.
You're welcome.
Perfect. Thank you,
Sam,
Brady.
add an explosion.
I will explode your face, Honor. Don't think that I
Awesome.
won't.
Very
Don't
good.
think I won't explode your face in this
In the
audio medium.
audio medium.
That sounded crazy. I heard it just now.
Today, we're each going to go around the table, and we're going to talk about a podcast we've been listening to recently, and we're going to review it for you, listener. Honor, would you like to start us off? What have you been listening to?
I'm gonna start. Well, maybe not a great start because it's not something I've been listening to recently.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Great.
Right. The
Good
format
start.
is broken.
We
Yep.
have completely
podcast
turned
is in
everything
shambles.
upside down. It is
That's
Good.
what I'm here
Great.
for, is to
Awesome.
immediately throw everything into chaos
Thanks, Honor.
that you set
Thanks
up.
for being my fellow host.
You're so welcome. Yeah, so it's not a podcast that I've been listening to recently, because it's one that's notorious for being very long, and I'm taking 18 credit hours this semester, so I don't have time for that. But it is the one and only Critical Role.
God.
of course.
No. Why did we start with this?
Of course.
Because you said start with me.
This is my
And-
white whale. This is my. Is there a name for the white whale?
I don't know.
I tried to think of a name and I couldn't think of it. It's the thing that I don't like, but I'm hunting.
Mm-hmm.
I actually listened to one episode.
You did?
Yeah.
I've seen it pop up a couple times.
Have you seen it pop up?
Interesting.
Yeah,
This
I
was
know the D20 cast. I know what's happening.
Do
Wait,
you-
yeah.
D20.
There's a little crossbreeding.
Is there a
happening there. Yeah.
crossbreeding?
There's
God.
crossover. Yeah. In the world of D&D podcasts, which is a vast one.
A frighteningly vast one, which I did not think we were going to get to so soon.
I mean, it was inevitable. We're a bunch of nerds. Like, what did you think was gonna
Critical
happen?
Role really is the Thanos of D&D podcasts.
Yeah.
That's a known fact.
No matter what happens, it's inevitable.
It's
It's gonna happen.
inevitable. Yep.
Okay, so why are you listening to this terrible podcast?
So, it was, gosh, when was it? 2020, 2021? We were in the
When
thick
everyone
of,
falls into
yep.
their Great Depression. Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
We all know.
We were in the thick of quarantine.
Mm.
Had a lot of time on my hands. And I had a friend who's like, hey, you're starting to get into D&D just a little bit, and like you like zany stories, and I think you'd enjoy this one. And it was called Critical Role Campaign 2. So
You started midway through?
kind of. So the thing about Critical Role is that if you listen to Campaign 1, it's not all there. Because they initially started it as a home game, and then friends of theirs were like, you should live stream this. And then they did. So if you start in Campaign 1, it's like they do a like recap of what's happened before, but you don't get the beginning. It's like you gotta meet these people who are playing the game for the first time without really getting an introduction to the characters, and so it can be really hard to get into. And so my friend was like, start with Campaign 2, because they actually start at the beginning of their campaign.
Got it.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
makes more sense.
So that is also my recommendation to any listeners who might want to check out Critical Role. God help you, it's so long.
Okay, so long. What are we talking here? Let's
Long?
talk numbers.
We need a number range of
Let's
Yeah,
go on timetobeat.com. Okay. And
I don't know if it's gonna be on time
what's
to
the
beat.
what's the any percent looking like these days?
80%. I mean, that is also another thing, is they have like recap videos of like, here's what's happened the last
abridged.
5
Yeah, right.
videos. And
Have
so
recap
it's like you
videos?
can experience it that way. Dear listener, I'm on my little device to check how many
Unprofessional.
Unbelievable.
to check
I
how
would
many
never be on my little device.
getting statistics for the accuracy
Yeah,
of
no, dude.
information
Speedrun.com,
for
where we're
Yeah,
everywhere.
please do your research midway through the episode, Honor.
Yeah. Well, okay. I was gonna get an exact
Honor's
number because
giving up in
you
rage,
like numbers.
listener. Honor's bright red, fire coming out of the top of their head.
Yeah. Put that sound effect in, won't you?
Thanks, Sam.
Editor Sam.
Thank you.
You're welcome, guys. You're
Thanks. It's about 200 episodes. Each episode can range from 3 to 5 hours. So that's a lot of
Wait, that's each episode.
That's
each
a day.
episode.
Wow. That's like you're sitting there at like it's uncut. You're just
Yep.
at the session.
Is it uncut? Do they not edit
It's
it?
uncut because it
That's-
is live streamed at first.
That sounds like hell. To listen to anyone's uncut Dungeons and Dragons campaign that I'm not
Well,
in.
and you can't
That's
see
the
it.
thing. You can't see it. It's uncut, but it's like it's good, and it kind of shouldn't be, and yet it is, which is kind of why I wanted to talk about it, because like you can talk about Critical Role and it's like, oh, so impressive, Matt Mercer, like it's
Right.
a classic in D&D podcast. But I also think it is interesting in that it is not initially a podcast, but I did listen to all of it because yes, I listened to the thousands of hours of Campaign 2 in 9 months. It
Okay.
was bonkers.
You had a Critical Role, baby.
I had a
That's
Critical Role.
crazy.
I hate that. Never mind. Cancel the podcast.
Podcast canceled. Finally, we did it.
We did it, yeah. But I listened to it all in the audio format. I didn't sit there and watch the VODs. I listened to it while I was doing chores and whatever.
About how many episodes are there?
I said about 200.
Well, I didn't
Sam.
pay attention.
But yeah, I listened to all of it in audio, and didn't really miss anything at all, even though it
Yeah.
is a video. In no small part because it's a bunch of voice actors. who play.
Do they voice act
Yeah.
the entire time?
They voice act pretty much the entire time, unless they're talking out of character, obviously. And
But then
they're
you've got like twice the amount of people. There's like what, 10 people on this podcast? No, 5.
There's 7.
And then so now you're rocking with 14.
Nice work.
Kind
Sam.
of.
Good math.
Yeah.
You see that? You see how I
Good
did
job.
that? You like that, Brady?
Right off the top of your head.
I did.
Didn't
Yeah.
even take you a second.
Thanks, Mrs. Boer. My 3rd grade math teacher.
Awesome. But yeah, it's like it is really charismatic in how they do like all the different voices for the different characters. It becomes very easy to follow along, even though like, you know, for their typical audience, they're like, you can see all of us sitting at this table and see which one is talking, but that's still not a problem at all. And even differentiating between like when they're in character, when they're out, it's like very distinct, which is super helpful.
Had you seen a picture of them before you started listening?
Before I started listening, no. I got a little ways in, and then it was like, yeah, I started to see pictures. Every now and then I'd watch clips on YouTube or whatever. So, like, I knew what they looked like eventually, but no. Beforehand, nah.
I feel like this is going to come up a lot throughout the course of this podcast,
Mm-hmm.
but I avoid face shock. That is what I shall dub it.
Yeah.
I don't want to see what people's looks like.
For sure.
How was your face shock with this? Did they look entirely different?
I definitely know what you're talking about. Like, with
Yeah.
other podcasts, it's like, if I see people's faces, it's like complete cognitive dissonance. With this cast, I would honestly say it was probably the least, interestingly enough.
Mhm.
Even though they're like doing voices that are completely not theirs the majority of the time. And like other podcasts, it's like, oh, it sounds like them. And then I look at them and it doesn't look like them to me. But these people who sound ridiculous, yeah this matches up.
Interesting.
It's always great when a YouTuber does like a face reveal and you're like, really? Because your voice doesn't sound like you look
Yeah,
sometimes.
which is also how I feel about you, Brady.
Yeah, I honestly want to know like
It's crazy that you're 3 feet tall.
yeah, I mean, all those shots, they're all green screen, so you just gotta scale me up sometimes.
Yeah.
Look at me. Look at me.
Yeah, I just use the transform tool and stretch it up a
beautiful.
little bit.
That's
Yeah.
beautiful. Okay.
But yeah, it's a good show in general. Especially like I really loved campaign 2. I've listened to a little bit of campaign 3, which is their current campaign, but like campaign 2 is what I know and love. And it is in and of itself like a very good story, very good show. But it is just something really impressive to me that it works as a podcast because it is not initially a podcast.
Yeah, it's a live streamed
It's a
D&D
live
campaign.
stream D&D campaign.
But ultimately, like D&D is not like a visual medium.
This is fair.
Do they have little battle maps?
Yeah,
Oh,
that is
God,
one
kill me
thing.
with the little
Is
battle
they
maps.
have Matt Mercer loves his battle maps.
Disgusting. Vile.
It's like extremely intricate battle maps, which I thought would be more of a barrier than it was. And every now and then I would be like, well, they're talking about this thing that apparently is super cool, but I can't see it. But also, like, it was like I was able to follow the battles just fine, which, considering how much they use those maps, was impressive.
So, I mean, let's talk about the classic problem of Dungeons and Dragons.
Uh-huh.
You're listening to a 3-5 hour podcast,
Yep.
and about 2 to 4 hours of that is just guys sitting around being like, firebolt or bone chill.
Yeah.
I mean, that cannot be a pleasurable experience.
It is definitely, because also I would listen to it. Part of how I got through so much of it is I would listen to it a little bit sped up.
1.25.
1.25, yes. So
That's
I would listen.
how you know you've made a quality product.
Oh, yeah.
Product when people need to speed through it.
It
when they
wasn't that
can't
I
bear to listen to all of it.
It wasn't that I needed to. I was just like, it was honestly like, I loved the story so much. I wanted to listen to as much of it as possible, as fast as I could.
The equivalent of speed reading.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I would speed it up because I wanted more of the story in, the hour or whatever that I had available to listen. But the battles I would speed up to 1.5 because it is like, you don't need
Back
quite
and
as much of
forth all
the
time,
yeah. But they also do a very good job of even just like the practical of like okay, have your move mostly ready before your turn comes, you know?
Right.
Which is just kind of etiquette. But also, like, they're all very descriptive about it, which makes it a lot more fun when they're like, I want to do this thing and I want to do it this way. They do that a lot, where it's not even just necessarily like, oh, I want to shoot a fireball and it will be big and fiery and awesome. It's like, I want to shoot a fireball
Perfect
and
description.
I'm going to, like, bounce it off the wall or, like, whatever.
Yeah.
It's like an actually interesting thing and not just, like, unnecessary information.
And listener and Brady,
Ooh.
you may not know that Honor is a huge Dungeons and Dragons fan. I mean, you may get this now that Honor, the
Yeah.
only thing that she's brought today is a
Dungeons
desire to
Dragons.
talk about Critical Role and a dice bracelet. Can you bring the dice
Oh,
bracelet
yeah.
up to the mic?
I don't know if it'll make any sound.
Well, that's why you need it. Perfect.
Sam, can you boost
That's
that
it.
in post and also add like 3 more explosion sound effects right after? Thank you very much. That sounds great.
Brady,
do
you're not
that.
coming back on.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. I am wearing a bracelet with, I have many bracelets with dice on them, and I also have a necklace that I can put dice in, and I own a lot of dice. I really like dice.
An obscene amount of dice. An amount of dice that would never be required for any like there's no roll possible.
It's like that
No.
Parks and Rec shot at the end of the Cones of Dunshire where he just like rolls like 50 dice and doesn't even look because the number's so high.
Yeah.
You ever watch Parks and Rec, Sam?
You know what, Brady? I'm also a D&D head, and that's the only thing I know about Parks and Rec.
It's just that
That's
scene.
It's just that. It's the only thing I know. It's the only thing.
That's amazing.
Well, my sister quoted the line to me once, but you forgot. It's about the cones.
It's about the cones. My
Yep.
humble farmer takes the last cone. Oh, I love that scene.
I should watch it. I should watch it just for the cones.
I've watched Parks and Rec twice. Like it's such a good
That makes
show.
so much sense for you, Brady.
Yeah.
You seem like you are a character out of Parks and Rec. Is that not so obvious to you, Anna?
I think, probably. I don't know Brady as well, but just from impressions.
Brady is clearly the
Yeah.
intern they pick on.
Yeah,
Clearly.
probably.
Yeah.
Or like the IT guy that they're like,
Oh
For
God,
sure.
Jesus Christ.
every IT guy on NBC is such a jerk.
Oh yeah. No, I see you as a target for violence,
Mm.
Brady.
That's fair. Yeah.
So Honor, I mean, so you've listened to
Mhm.
lifetimes worth of this podcast.
Uh-huh.
Is it good?
Yeah. I would say it's good.
What is the actual story? Just out of curiosity.
The actual story, it is...
It takes over 30 years. I understand
Right,
that.
yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
frankly frightened to ask this
The
question.
One Piece of D&D, if you will.
It
Is
is
it One
for
Piece over
sure
yet?
the One Piece.
I don't watch or
No.
read One Piece.
Hang
I
on.
just
I
know it's very
I
long.
don't think One Piece is over.
God help us when One Piece
I
is
don't
over.
watch.
I'm pretty
One
sure when
Piece,
One
but-
Piece ends, the world has ended. Like that seems
might
to be
be
what's
it.
happening.
I just feel like we would know if One Piece was over. You
I
know
don't
what
think
We'd
I
all
mean?
feel it at the same time worldwide. Yeah.
You know, just the human spirit would crumble.
Yeah.
It's true. Yeah.
Where are the spoilers?
Yeah.
I gotta know when something's a One Piece spoiler so I can put it up on screen and the people who don't know what One Piece is are so confused for a week.
Do you do that?
No, YouTubers all around the world that I watch are just like, oh, I would show this because it's a One Piece reference, but it's a spoiler, so I can't show it. And I'm like, I don't know what's happening or why you took 10 seconds to do that.
Once somebody sent me an anime meme. I don't talk to that person anymore.
Like, yeah.
It's confusing.
Well, I mean, it depends. It depends. I don't watch anime at all. I know what you're talking about, and I have a feeling I know what the meme kind of looked like. I'm picturing it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
This is
don't
interesting.
honestly remember, so maybe you know.
I have no idea
There
what's
are
going
some
on.
there are some vile anime memes.
Oh
out
no,
there.
I just think I just didn't understand it. Like there was a cube with a bunch of guys' face on it, and then it dropped, and they're like, "Oh no!"
I am imagining something entirely different. Now.
Yeah, no.
You know Obama Prism? I'm thinking about that, but
perfect.
6 random faces and then it like collapses on the ground.
We've got our what somebody called Netflix. We've got the next big
this
anime.
is
Yeah.
the next Skibbity toilet. Just a
Oh
bunch
my
of faces on a
gosh.
cube. It drops. That's the end of the video. Do that 30,000 times.
Pardon.
Do you not know what Skibbity Toilet is,
Do I
Sam?
need to know this? Is this required?
No,
This is-
we can move
we
on.
can skip
we can
over
move on.
every-
Is
everything
Skibbity
related
Toilet
to Skibbity Toilet.
the cockroach that jumps around?
I'm really
We
happy
can
that you're
move
that far
on,
back
but
in meme
no.
culture because we're skipping this. Sam, I
No?
will enlighten you after the podcast, but everybody who's listening
Yeah.
knows what it is and would like us to move on.
Listener, look up
And we're
Skibbity
going
Toilet.
to.
I hear it's good.
Yeah, so I will, I guess, if you want to listen to Critical Role Campaign 2 without spoilers, skip.
Entering spoiler. Hold on.
Uh-huh.
Oh, don't mess with the thing.
Entering
spoiler
section.
Okay.
Very good. That
Cool.
made it reverb.
Oh, it's a little reverb.
Nice. Alright. But yeah, so campaign 2 it's also like clearly it's very long. It goes over a lot of things. But it's a very ragtag bunch of misfits. It's like, how the hell did you all end up in the same place adventuring at the same time? And so each of their individual stories is a whole thing, and every single one of them is a good story and worth paying attention to. But also I can't talk about all of them.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe I can
What's it-
skip through just to give you an idea.
Give me
of
broad strokes.
Yeah,
give me broad
so
strokes.
one is like a fallen angel who is like
whack.
has mind control stuff going on and like a dead wife. One
Epic.
is a monk who was like shipped off to monk school, but is also like part of a school that's like designed to keep governments in check. And also is a library.
He
This
is a
sounds
library.
This sounds
Oh,
like a
no.
dream that I had,
Yeah.
and that
No.
like
No,
you're trying to
that's
explain.
she's-
That's Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just
No.
it's just telling people about your
The
dreams.
like monastery she's a part of is like it keeps governments in check and like assassinates people. Also a library.
Yep. That sounds like a dream somebody had. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. Perfect.
Um,
Awesome dream. It's metal.
There's the daughter of an extremely like famous performer and prostitute. And it's like she's lived her life being like kept away because that like tarnishes her mother's fame, and like she also is like a prankster and has like messed up business for her mom, and so that's why she's on the run. There's a halfling who is turned into a goblin and is like trying to get back to her like husband and child. But no one knows she's been turned
Right.
into a goblin. They just think there's a goblin in the party.
Like gobbledygoo.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
translates to please reunite me with my family.
Well, no, she
I-
speaks English, but it's
Oh.
just like no one.
Okay.
I
No
like
one
the
knows
idea
this.
that in Brady's mind,
Yeah,
for 200 episodes, for roughly 1,000 hours, there was just some guy going, "A gobbledygoo up my bar, a banana."
Yeah. There's a pirate who talks in a fake accent for a lot of the story, and then has like a religious like change in heart from like away from his warlock patron who sucks, which is part of the main story is around the warlock patron. There's my personal favorite character was like a circus performer who also had weird stuff going on where it was like he woke up buried in the ground one day with no memories, and then like you go from there, but then
Just like a reverse aging situation where you wake up.
No, he woke up and he was like 25 or
Okay.
something.
Imagine if that's how Benjamin Button started. You're a little tiny baby and you wake up in the dirt.
Who am I missing? There's a really sad wizard who
How many people in this
accidentally-
party? What is this, 7?
There's technically like 8.
That's too many characters to keep track of in
There's
a novel.
7 actors, there's 8. There's one who's like comes from I forget if it's cemetery or graveyard. There is a difference, and he knows it and says it a lot of times, and I'm sorry, Caduceus. But he's like a healer actually
you-
and makes tea.
Okay.
I
I don't like how you just said that name like you were like praying to your god.
That's
sorry,
the character.
Caduceus.
I'm sorry, Cad. Is that everyone? I mean,
Nice work,
Dang
Sam.
it.
Great work on that editing.
What did I do?
You just bleeped out the swear word. We're so proud of you.
Oh,
my bad.
bad boy.
That one too. Good job.
Honor, do you want to make a bleep sound? Brady, do you want to make a bleep sound for
Well,
Honor?
usually I just use like the sine wave tone. But
Yeah.
yeah, that makes it funny. But I could just go ah, and then you can just put that over whatever.
The wave got so big, it's awesome.
It did also hurt to hear that.
Okay, well, great. Just put that
Very
over the
good.
swear
Thank
words.
you.
Now they'll really know when you swore.
Yeah. That's my swear sound.
Oh, that's way worse.
Awesome.
That's awful.
Or how about swear word? And then like that's
Swear word.
Bad boy.
Swear word. Yeah. There you go. You use whatever you want.
But hey, Honor.
Yeah.
What is the story though?
The story.
I've heard a bunch of different things. That
There's a bunch of
combine.
different things. It's like so wild that these all like kind of all relate to each other is the crazy part. But let's go back to that warlock patron. It's like this entity in the sea. And it's
like
got
fish.
It's an entity.
entity
No.
in the
It's an
sea.
entity.
Call
it's
that a
like
fish.
like one of the main symbols of it is because the guy who has a warlock for it has all these dreams about it, right?
Sam just did a fish thing with his hands.
Yeah, Sam's just making little fishy movements.
It's just like a clownfish. It's just a clownfish.
No, it's like the main thing is the character has dreams and he'll like be in the ocean and then it's like an eye opens that's as big as like everything he can see and then he wakes up.
Fish.
Big fish.
Big fish.
But it's like it's been locked away, but it's trying to escape. Ends up being kind of one of the main conflicts is like they don't realize that all these things that have been like kind of going wrong are relating to this. There's also a lot of politics involved.
I like politics.
You like politics. There's a lot of politics and there's this war going on, and so simultaneously the party is trying to like figure out these things are kind of connected. There's like parties working on both sides of this war, like doing political warfare and also apparently trying to like free this thing. This is also, again, I haven't listened to it recently, so like maybe I'm wrong. Sue me forever if I am, viewers who know or listeners.
You can't sue me. Just want to put that out there.
Brady immune.
Immune.
That's how the law works.
It'd be awesome. Just be like, I'm having this press conference to say you cannot sue me.
You cannot sue
You
me.
can no longer do that.
But then
Anyway,
also,
so we have this new cancer drug, right?
Oh God.
but so the like biggest conflict, which I also think is the most interesting, fairly early on. I think it's episode. I should know the number. It's I think episode 31 or 32. One of the party members dies, which is like
Forever.
Awesome.
forever.
And then
Yeah.
they just go home?
No.
Oh.
That's why there's 7 actors and 8 characters.
Ah,
Uh,
okay. I see what
Yeah,
happened
they
there.
pick one up later. But the character who like woke up buried 6 feet under with no memories also has these like eye tattoos on him that he like doesn't know about. He's the one that dies, and so they're like, okay, guess we'll bury him. Will he stay there?
Because he woke up with no memory.
Because he woke up with no memory.
Does he stay there?
So
Good
they bury
question.
him on the road. He has this like coat that's like a super, he came from the circus. It's super flamboyant. They like put a stick in the ground. They put the coat. They come back to that spot ages later. Coat's gone. The ground is
It's open, like
it's
somebody came
it's
out
open.
of where they
like
buried
maybe
him.
someone came out where they buried him.
Guys, I'm getting scared.
You getting scared? Well, they
frightened.
find him later. And they find him initially. I'm trying to remember the like order of everything. So again, I might be getting things wrong. It's very long and very like there's a lot of things going on. But they end up like scrying on him, and they realize that he's not using the name they knew him as. He's not acting the same. He dresses
he
different.
loses his memory again.
No.
Oh.
He is acting like he knows people that he never met. He's acting like he is connected to like supernatural happenings that they're like he didn't know about these things. He was as confused as us. And so he comes back as someone that he had died as before.
They're switching places.
They're switching places.
So they just
in a
have
way.
to kill him, and then he comes back.
Well,
Do
they're
they-
not sure.
Do they kill him?
he ends up being
Hit him
like
in the head.
the big. He ends up
Boink.
being the big bad guy of the whole campaign because he's trying to
Yeah, they gotta really hit
do
him
all
in the
these things.
head.
They gotta really hit him in the head, and
But
so
like a bunch.
but like a bunch. And so they end up fighting him. They kill him. And so they're like, okay, we finally like leveled up to the point our wizard has like revive. Let's try it. They try it. It doesn't work.
Kill him again.
He's still dead.
Brady, I love
hit him in the head.
So it doesn't work. And then, so the same guy who had played Molly Mock is the name of the original character who died. The guy who played Molly Mock started playing a cleric after that. And so his new cleric character throws up a what's the one where they like pray and they gotta like roll less than their level on a D100?
Save or something.
It's not channel divinity, but it's something like that. But it's like your god can make a miracle happen if you roll really specifically.
Yeah.
And he does it.
In this big moment.
In this big moment, it's like crazy. And then he wakes up and he has no memories again. So they didn't in neither of the ones that they'd seen.
There's a third guy now.
There's a third guy, and he's like he like becomes his own person, but he's also like, you guys seem to like this one guy you knew, so maybe I'll be like a brother or something of his. And so he like has the same surname but a different first name.
I loved this ride you took us on.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. And for a moment there, I was with you. I was next to you on this wonderful Critical Role journey.
I can see it. I can see it being really enjoyable.
Yeah, I was like, this is super. Maybe I want to enjoy this. Maybe I was wrong for hating this. And
It
then
is like a lifetime long.
yeah. And then you told me that they revive this guy like 3 times. And that's really dumb. And I really hate it. And I don't want to listen to this. I don't want to hear them talk about this guy.
Did he like lift
Bad boy.
up his
This
arm
guy.
and like the
Well,
flesh was
honestly,
coming off and he was like, well,
I'm not any guy. I'm just around. Hello. I don't care. I don't care. Just let him die. Let things die. More things need to die, listeners.
I mean, okay, here's the thing. He dies.
frightening
Sorry, I should address listeners and then look at Brady.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
The thing is, he dies like episode 30 or whatever.
Not into
And it's like they go to try and find a cleric to revive him. This is the character that the same actor plays. And he's like, I actually can't do that.
I assume it would cause issues if they had
It would
two
cause
of them
issues,
walking
yeah.
around.
And so they're like, it is like, okay, guess he's dead unless he like does whatever happened to him before. But it's like they don't know, they don't have control over it. And then it's like way later, because it's also like 200 episodes. It's like, I don't even know, like 150 maybe episodes in that they're
That's
like,
like-
oh,
Yeah.
maybe he is back.
It's years. It's years later.
Yes. Yeah. So it's like, it's not all about him.
Honor, how would you rate Critical Role, this vile podcast that you devoted your life
what
to?
is your scoring system? Is it out of 10, out of 5? What do you guys do?
Pod out of cast.
Pot out of cast.
Pod out of cast? We've yet to define one.
Yeah, we have yet
5 pods out of cast? 1 pod out of cast?
I mean, I think
3 cats out of
it's
pod?
up to the listeners to really determine what the number actually
Yeah.
means to them.
Yeah.
Really relative.
I will. So the campaign, or like the party, was named this, and then the campaign was like named it after. They're called the Mighty Nine, except it's 9 like no in German. But of course, whenever they like introduce their party to any NPC, they're like, "We're the Mighty Nine," and they're like, "There's only 7
It's
of
very
you."
funny that the
It's
NPCs pointed
really
out to.
funny.
So
It's
that's-
really good. And there ends up being like this whole thing later about them like hitting 9 or whatever. But for that, I would rate it 9 pods out of cast.
And how would you rate Matt Mercer, just as a human being?
Matt Mercer as a human being, he's a wonderful human being. Matt out of Mercer.
Yep. Damn it.
He's very good. He's very good at what he does as a DM. He's like really intelligent. It is like this incredibly impressive like network of politics and geography and magic and like all of these things. It's like crazy the amount of detail he has. It's awesome.
That's easy. Dude, the freaking, like, The Italians did politics back in the Roman days. Like, that's
well,
not hard to do.
they're not one person. This is one guy.
Yeah, one guy's doing a whole politics.
They don't have
One
that.
guy
They
worth
don't have that much
all-
going for them. Come on.
This one guy's worth the same as every Italian.
Wow, that makes sense.
Oh, to be in a room with Matt Mercer.
Yeah, it'd be awesome.
You think his face would be supple if I punched it? It would just crumble under my fist.
I think.
Do you think about this a lot, Sam?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Just like his his hair shooting forward as I
Yeah.
thrust his head
You just
backward into
imagine
the wall.
every frame, slow motion. Just
Yeah.
Sounds beautiful.
I just referred to real life time as frames.
Awesome.
Exiting spoiler section.
Nice work. Nice work.
Don't make it.
I'm glad I could be a part of that one.
Yeah.
Your woo-ha-ha is scary.
All right. Who's up next?
Me.
Sam,
I go.
go, Sam.
All right. I got to lay my cards out on the table.
Mm-hmm.
This podcast is a lie. It's a farce. It's an attempt. It's a parody.
I feel betrayed.
Yeah.
I feel betrayed.
We
as the
brought you on here,
co-host.
Brady,
I
to talk about your Switch modding addiction, I guess.
What's wrong with you? I told you that in confidence.
I'm sending Nintendo after you. I was a Nintendo spy this whole time. I work for Mr. Mario.
Oh no,
Whoa.
they're gonna break my legs.
They will. Nintendo will. This podcast is heavily inspired by a podcast that I listen to and really, really like, which is called Thumbcramps. Brady, I've told you about this. Honor, I've also told you about this. I tell everyone about this.
In brief.
Even though they continually say, don't tell anyone about this podcast, it will ruin your life. And it seems to. Thumbcramps is a video game review podcast where two hosts and a special guest weekly come in and talk about video games they've played, and then they review them. Except, here's the twist, they're bad. So this podcast is from a podcast network that I listen to frequently, which is called Sans Pants Radio.
Mm.
I'm sure they'll come up again. And the two hosts, Joel Dusher and Jackson B. Bailey, are on many of the Sans Pants Radio network shows, and they're buffoons. They're idiots.
Right.
And it's just, there's something really pleasurable about just feeling very smart. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I can see
Yeah,
that.
you get to hear people like have opinions about video games you haven't played, and also feel like superior. So that's pretty good. So what happens every episode is that Joel and Jackson play a video game, usually in a themed month. So for the last year, for 2023, they had themed months, which was new. By the way, tangent, the history of Thumbcramps is murky to me. I listened to probably about the first 6-7 episodes. It starts in 2018. And then I went and at some point came back to it much later and just listened to the contemporary stuff. There is a dramatic difference.
Yeah.
In the very start, it's Joel Dusher, Jackson Bailey, and Joel Zammit. Joel Zammit is canonically dead. They refer to him as dead. I know he's not. He's on other podcasts. I've heard of him. But apparently he died in a tragic accident.
Awesome.
And that seems to be, in the limited archaeology I've done, really that's when the floodgates were unleashed and everything went downhill. This is a supposedly safer school podcast. They don't curse or swear, but they do make horrible graphic sexual descriptions that shouldn't be repeated. They say just things that are no good, that really no brain should conceive of. And then they play video games for my enjoyment. It's very good. This is where I get most of my gaming news about games that are usually 15 to 20 years old.
Right, yeah. So you've got a little bit of a time buffer there on that news.
Yeah. There's a slight delay.
Right.
There's a slight delay. Jackson's favorite game for 2023 was a video game called Shadow Man for the PS2. And he he just really enjoyed it because when Shadow Man gets damaged, he just goes, "Bad boy," which is a pretty funny reason to make that your game of the year.
And now,
Nice work on that.
maybe
bleep,
there's
Sam.
no reason for you to even have said that. Listeners, you won't even know. It'll be bleeped.
You won't know what Shadow Man says.
Yeah, I mean, who knows what that word under that scream could have been? Nobody really knows.
God.
Nice work on that edit, Sam.
Thanks, Brady.
Good job.
You're really my number one
You want
fan.
your own bleep sound, Sam?
Do I want my own bleep sound?
It'd be really
Can
funny. You were about to do it. You were about to say a different swear word to be the bleep sound.
Can I just edit Shadow Man saying bad boy over me saying bad boy?
I mean, you could
Totally up to you.
probably. It's your podcast, man.
Perfect.
I am not in charge of the decisions.
Yeah.
You two have to fight it out.
Finally, we've been authorized to engage in physical combat. Do me honor.
I think we know who will win.
I'm strong. The listeners feel my muscle.
I'm strong. I have muscular.
I do have muscular. I have skeletal-muscular.
Listeners, email us at podpodcastcastpod@gmail.com.
Do email in. We wouldn't know.
Email in.
Who would win in a fight?
Who do you think?
Based
Who are you
off
putting money on?
Based it off of our voices.
Yeah.
Who's stronger?
Weird how
And
the
more
quality
powerful.
of the microphone just changed there. Something
Which-
weird's going on with the audio. I
This,
think.
is
Yeah.
this is just how I sound.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's just how he talks.
It's because my throat's so muscular. Makes my voice sound like this.
Yeah,
Yeah, for sure.
perfect.
It's trapped your vocal cords down there because of all the muscles.
Yeah.
That's something that can happen.
Yeah, that's for sure. So yeah, Thumbcramps is unhinged. They have other like video game reviewers come in, or sometimes just like other people in Sanspants Network and talk about video games. The themed months. So I would like to tell you some of my favorite themed months.
I've heard a couple of these.
I've told you this.
I have not, so.
So there was I don't remember what January was, but there was Febuame Tube, which was February, but also the Nintendo GameCube. There was Final March to See, which is March, but Final Fantasy. Every week, Jackson had to play a Final Fantasy game. And
That is torture.
He hated it.
That's
He hated
torture.
it. I think Chocobo Racing was what almost took him out.
God.
He almost gave up right then and there, which is a beautiful fact. Play Staple. I don't remember what May is.
May you play video games.
May you play video games. Well, then I also believe that June is Gamer Thanksgiving, in which the host gifted each other games to play, and everyone had to play. They would play each other's games. That was good. July Mario.
These
Are these games good? Gist. September 360, which was September the Xbox 360,
this one
and
makes me lose.
Sydney, because they're from Australia, so they drove from Melbourne to Sydney to do podcasts in person with their friends. So it was September 360.
That's awesome.
The November's No 3D November. Yeah, and then there's D-Listcember, which was just a bunch of list episodes.
These
Nice.
names feel designed to sound as uncomfortable as possible.
It's
Yeah.
like if you made a podcast out of the nails on the chalkboard sound.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Like
Yeah.
every idea that comes out of this podcast is just
ve-
it's theoretically enjoyable, but every time they say something like what was the 360 one?
September 360. Is
Extember
that too
360.
hard for you to say?
It's not hard for me to say. I just don't like it.
Yeah, and I think that's Thumbcramps in general.
Yeah.
Their rating system is on a scale of 1 to 5 thumbs. 7 thumbs being you might. Well, 7 thumbs being you might put it on your short list. 7 thumbs you're thinking about it, making it your game of the year. 10 thumbs it is your game of the year, and 6 thumbs you're thinking about putting it on your short list for game of the year.
And you said this out of 5?
Out of 5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Awesome.
Half thumb is a nuck. One of my favorite features. See, it works if you hold it
does,
up.
yeah.
It's very good.
I like that.
They went to PAX Australia and just filmed on the floor of or recorded on the floor of Australia.
That's
just
amazing.
harassed people. Did I say the floor of Australia?
Yep.
It's crazy. You guys should go to the second floor. Australia. I hear it's way better there.
Crazy.
They just harass random people, and unequivocally the best section is the email section, in which they have their assumedly frequently intoxicated, certainly deranged audience
Right.
email in and say terrible things. There was a long running segment about have you had sex with a podcast? How was it?
And the answers weren't all no.
No.
That is insanity.
That is crazy.
Recurring bit is someone listening to Thumbcramps and then because they're distracted or for other reasons getting hit by a vehicle. There was somebody got hit by a car. Somebody got, while listening to this other person email in about how they got hit by a car, get hit by an ambulance.
Were they on the same road?
They're not on the same road. Separate people.
Yeah, 10 minutes later, the ambulance shows up.
One of my favorites is that someone gets hit by a car or an ambulance or one of them, and as a result loses their earbuds or their AirPods or earbuds, whatever, earbuds. I love when that dog plays basketball. It's so good. And so people were like, "Oh, we'll help you find them," and the person was just like, "No." They're like, "Well, just turn up the volume." No. Because they didn't want anyone to hear Thumbcramps, because it's just the worst thing. Like a teacher played it. I might have to cut this out, but a teacher played it. A teacher went out of the room, came back, and realized that their podcast was playing.
Right.
And Jackson and Dusha were just talking about which
nice
is
work
really
again,
funny.
Sam, by the way.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Your mom will love this.
My mom's really excited for this episode.
She's very proud.
She's very proud. My mother's tremendously proud of you. Proud of me.
I'm touched.
It's not.
I'm so glad, Miss Herder.
It's a bad podcast. It's a bad podcast. Frequently, someone tries to explain the podcast to their spouse or girlfriend and get broken up with. Although the curse may soon end. So they got the famously the person that got broken up with because they laughed on the train to France got back together with their
Ooh.
Whoa.
That may change this coming Thursday.
It's like the Cubs. The infamous
Just like
World
that.
Series streak.
Yeah, and
It's just like that.
it's just like that. In another 100 years, you guys will win.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so it's not.
Yeah.
Just so you know that the curse is not broken.
Well, no. Well,
It's a probability, and your probability is, 1 out of 100 years.
that's fair.
You won't see it. It's like Haley's Comet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, what would you rate this podcast,
I
Sam?
would probably rate it. I would say it's a 5-thumb podcast. I think. Well, based off the quality, I would say it's a 1 nuck podcast. It's a tremendously poor podcast.
So you're using their own grading scale
I am
on your show.
I am.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
I've co-opted it.
I mean, you already said that this is apparently a
This is a
knockoff,
farce.
which I wasn't
Yeah.
even aware of.
It's a knockoff.
But
can't believe
apparently, I'm
this,
part
Sam.
of this now.
Yeah, you're complicit.
Apparently,
We get sued by the Australians don't have lawyers, so I think we're all good.
That's true. That's just a
Um,
fact.
Yeah, no, it's a terrible, vile podcast, and I really enjoy listening to it, and then occasionally doing the fall asleep move to it. It's very good. I like it. Brady,
what keeps you listening to it? If it's
If
so
it's
bad.
so terrible,
that's the bit. Like, 'cause it's so bad,
Mm-hmm.
it's really enjoyable.
Yeah.
Like, for instance, a recent bit is that Jackson has been espousing his belief in a 7 type of shower system. There's 7 different types of showers. There's a healing shower. There's a depression shower. There's a just being in there shower. There's an intimate shower. There's a cleaning shower, and that's not all the types. Just to be clear.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really
he uses them in that order.
no. I don't remember. Dusha will be like, Jackson, that's insane, and Jackson will be like, I don't think it is.
I don't think so.
And it's just like perfect.
I disagree.
I don't know. There's something bad about my brain. Their Apple Plus subscription bundle is called the Bad Brain Boys. All the podcasts that they're on, and it's true. It's rotten. They have no good thoughts, and I just enjoy it very much.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Very good.
Brady, what have you been listening to?
Okay, let me take you on a little journey here.
Mhm.
I'm so ready.
So, when podcasts kind of became a thing, I went onto my iPod or whatever, and I searched for the word Nintendo because I'm a dirty little gremlin. And I found a podcast that I'm not going to be talking about today, but I will be slowly mentioning, Nintendo Voice Chat by IGN. And I listened to this podcast.
What?
This is the podcast that I think I've listened to the most. I've listened to 100 episodes of this podcast, and it's hour to 2 hour long.
Mhm.
And I just listened to it because it was just all the news of the week, all the Nintendo news.
It's an hour and 2 hours of
Yeah.
news.
Yeah, and it's
I don't
That's
well, it's
wild.
fun.
And
it's,
weekly?
weekly, and
Oh,
they had.
I don't know why I thought it was daily.
But even still,
they just have the
weekly.
Nintendo IGN crew sit down and just talk about. If there's no news, they just talk about something like, how do you think the Switch is gonna do this week? And they're like, I think it's gonna do good. And then they're like, yep,
That's awesome.
but it was fun. Like they had a cast of characters on, like as people like went in and out of IGN, that changed up. That's kind of the podcast type that I listen to. A bunch of people just kind of either goofing off, but while also delivering like information. Like I loved the E3 episodes because they were at E3 and they were talking about stuff that was like they had seen that E3, which I'd already seen because it was E3. But like I was interested to see other people's opinions.
Yeah, you were there when it happened. You were there before it happened.
But like that's kind of still what I do today. I listen to 2 podcasts. That's basically it. Like even
He's not even a podhead.
It's
Why did we have him?
intermittent.
Why would we have him on?
I know, why am I here? But I listen to the one that I listen to for like news and stuff is the Linus Tech Tips like WAN show. And it's
WAN?
like the WAN show. It's WAN and it's like for wireless access network or whatever, but it's they just call it the WAN show.
Perfect.
And that has been going on forever, and I listen to it like every at least couple of weeks. Like they do it weekly, but sometimes the topics aren't great. And the other one I listen to is I'm a little YouTube brained boy.
Famous YouTuber.
Chuckle Sandwich.
Chuckle Sandwich.
No, don't, Brady. You can't come on here and talk about Chuckle Sandwich.
I know.
This is why we had to know what was going to get
It's
talked
so
about.
early to get divided about Chuckle Sandwich.
Well, listen.
Hey, listeners, remember when I said you should email to see who you think would win in a fight?
It's not the time, Honor. It's just a sensitive subject.
Well, okay. Listen, I'm a not only am I a little YouTube creator boy, but I'm also one of those people who enjoys the clips more than listening to like the whole episode. I am this podcast's arch enemy because I whenever there's talk about something interesting, it gets clipped and then I watch the full clip. Sometimes that means 30 minutes, sometimes that means like 2. But like I got a lot of stuff.
Efficient.
I'm one of those people who like I can put a podcast on, but I'm like YouTube Music will just make a playlist for me just automatically if I click on a song I like. And I'd rather that be happening in the background while I'm working on something. Because when I try to listen to a podcast, I don't know what it is. But in the background, I can do it if I'm like doing something like chores. I can do that. But like if I'm working on anything else that requires even a little bit of my brain power, I'm listening to the words that the people are saying right now.
Yeah.
Absolutely. For sure.
But yeah, so like Chuckle Sandwich, funny boys. Like I like those 2 guys. And so like when they're talking about something that is meaningless and doesn't matter at all, it's fun.
Now, okay, Brady, I just want to quickly clarify. You've brought up 3 podcasts. Are you reviewing Chuckle Sandwich?
I'm kind of deciding on the fly here.
Okay. You're reviewing your podcast experience.
Yeah, because
okay.
like at this point, I just got to collect it all in one because like this is all the podcast knowledge. That
Why?
Yeah, I
He
do
has no
think
he doesn't even. I don't think Brady has ears. I don't know why we brought him on for this.
Good question.
I mean, it's hard, transitioning to the 3rd dimension.
Yeah.
Stuff gets left off.
Yeah.
It's crazy. They don't
Still
tell
working
you.
on it.
It's silent 2D.
Oh yeah.
It's terrifying.
I mean that all the music is added in post. I forgot to add the music one time in a season 1 episode. Halloween Stories has no background music, and that will haunt me forever.
That's the scariest story.
Yeah, Halloween Stories from season 1 has no background music.
So
it is
awesome.
just my voice because there's no music, there's no nothing in the 2D space. You gotta add it in editing.
It's really basically you recorded a podcast with a visual component.
Essentially, that episode is in fact a podcast. It's
awesome.
a short podcast, but anyway, Chuckle Sandwich, funny guys. I like it when they ask the question to whoever is on.
Yep.
The question that shall not be named.
Yep.
Because
there's for sure going to be a Chuckle Sandwich episode of Podpodcast.
I refuse.
It's inevitable.
I'm boycotting
this
Chuckle
is basically
Sandwich.
a preview of that one. Just like I like it when they do the funny.
Yeah.
And, WAN show on the other hand, it's like 2 guys again, but it's a very set format. Like it's just kind of about the gaming and tech news from the week.
Mm.
And I like that because it's like sometimes they get a little heated. Like Linus and Luke from Linus Tech Tips, they can disagree on stuff, and they are not afraid to actually disagree on stuff live, which is very awesome. Like
Awesome.
a lot of like people who do stuff like that with like the news, they just kind of speak it like they go through the notes and stuff, and they like, oh well, you know, this and that. And Linus sometimes it's just like this is a quote. He's like, yeah, I dropped my fair share of like hard R's back in the day, and then Luke was like, what are you talking about? And he's like, no, like he's like the word that we can't use anymore, like for development disabled people. And Luke was like, oh my god, man.
Yeah, you gotta call that one.
Like that, like he said like that happened live, and Luke was like, I'm very glad I asked a follow-up to that one, because that I did not want that to be clipped. And like stuff like that just happens on the podcast. It is a crazy show because it's just live.
On a it's not it's first live stream.
It's a live show, but
Yeah.
it's a podcast at its core. Like they have the funny condenser mics, and they have everything set up. And of course, since it's live, Linus accidentally like leaks where he lives, like his home address all the time. Like they had a policy, and they made a company policy that Linus was no longer allowed to bring his laptop onto like the WAN show, like his personal one. He had to use a company laptop because he kept showing like his Amazon orders and stuff. Like
oh my God,
on
that's
stream.
Awesome.
Oh my
It's
gosh.
amazing. I like that show because it's both informative, which is nice for me. I like keeping up with the tech news and stuff. And it's also kind of fun because like they're not afraid to like be like, oh yeah, this company sponsors us, but what they did this week is dumb. Like,
Nice.
Perfect.
It is stupid. Like,
Very
Take the man's
good.
money and then call him an idiot.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's the plan. That's
That
the way.
seems to be like what they do all the time over there,
That's
Very
so
good.
up in Canada.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah,
Linus Tech Tips is in Canada.
yeah, it's crazy. But like,
Has it always been in
yeah,
Canada?
if you can actually search up like Linus Tech Tips on like Google Maps because it's just like a company now.
Shout out
Oh.
Canada.
Yeah,
Oh no,
but
he's a Canadian. I didn't know that.
yeah, totally betrayed.
I gotta go. You know, I gotta get tech tips from someone else. Somebody who actually knows something. You know, who knows Imperial. Or God forbid, eat something other than maple syrup.
Yeah.
I don't know why my bit on this podcast is just making fun of people that don't live where
Yeah.
I live.
Yeah, I don't know. What's up with that?
What is up with that? We need to kind of. I mean,
We need to dissect your mind.
Yeah.
I don't consent to that.
Okay, Linus Tech Tips. He shaved. This
He
was
shaved.
this was big news.
Well, yeah,
Wow.
he used to be.
He used to be like the little boy. He's just bald.
Little lad.
Little bald Linus.
I'm shaking my head at you.
SMH my head.
SMH my head, bro.
SMH my head.
Podcasts.
What?
I listen to podcasts, but that's all.
Are you trying to pretend? Like, are you trying to infiltrate now? I listen to podcasts. That's why you should let me be on a podcast.
You've changed your tune.
Yeah, that all I can really say about podcasts is that I sure do listen to them, but like not
All right.
often.
Okay,
Not
let's
often.
go through then. Okay. Picto Chat. No, what was it called? Voice Chat. Nintendo Voice Chat from IGN.
It's been a while.
How would
but
you rate it? What's your rating?
I would rate it. What's the system? What's the other end of the slash?
Stars.
Pod out of cast.
Pod out of cast.
Yeah.
Um,
I thought we were.
I'm rating it Nintendo Voice Chat. I gotta give it a 4 pods out of cast.
It's solid.
Mm.
Yeah,
4 pods out of
yeah.
cast.
Like it's useful. It's fun to see that I actually I'm gonna take a very small tangent. One of those episodes, I forget which one it was, but I'm really sad that I did because
Mhm.
it's been a long time. But one of the members was talking about his Animal Crossing island, and he went through this whole monologue that I'm not going to repeat, but it was basically like he had created a whole system where his house was cut off from the rest of the island, and he had all of the he'd paid Tom Nook several times to move all of the villagers into one corner of his island.
That's awesome.
And he created a moat that the villagers can cross over, but the animals can't. And so the animals are all trapped in their little corner.
like the animal villagers.
Yeah, like
The other people living there.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
only he can cross that moat. like
Perfect.
with the little stick thing. The villagers, the other people, animal people can't. So they're all trapped in the corner, and only he has access to the rest of the island where he has all the useful things set up. And somebody said, like, you've made Animal Zoo. Like, that's not Animal Crossing. They literally can't cross anymore.
They
It's
can't
true.
cross.
And I wanted to animate that clip like back in 2018. And I
Mhm.
couldn't. I opened Adobe Animate and I made like a character model and everything. And I made this awesome poster. And I can't find it for the life of me. And it makes me so sad of this member. What's his name? Pear. I think that's his name. And I made a poster of his face that says obey, like in that style.
Perfect.
I can't. It was on my like school Chromebook, and I lost it. I
Whoa.
don't know where it is. And if I find it, I will be sending it to him with no context.
That's
Very good.
I love Animal Crossing authoritarianism.
Yeah, it's great.
It's good. I love. Yeah, that's lovely.
Anyway, 4 pods out of cast. Chuckle Sandwich, I got to give 7.5 pods out of cast. Pretty entertaining. They have a formula going, and depending on the guest, it can kind of vary by week.
Yeah.
I like the one where they had Scott the Woz on, if you can't tell. But
You chump. You chump.
I'm a little fool. But and then WAN show, Linus Tech Tips. I'd give it a 6 pods out of cast.
6 pods out of cast.
Yeah, I'd say
Decent.
it's pretty. It can be pretty entertaining, and other times like they just walk away for like a minute and a half. But like
That's awesome.
I think the most entertaining thing that I think has happened was like I think there was a mouse. Like there was not
Like
a
a
computer
actual
mouse,
mouse?
like a real living mouse,
rat?
like in their like complex, and like it
Awesome.
had scrambled onto the set, and I think their producer Dan is a wonderful being. I want Dan to experience nothing but happiness for his whole life, but it had gotten like into the his producers like area on the other side, and like they pushed a button on the stream deck that like shows a Dan cam, which is amazing that they have
Awesome.
that.
Dan cam.
And,
We need a
and
Dan cam.
like he was like he was jumping like back like away from the table because the mouse was just going, and they like it started because they heard a noise from over, like they were talking, and then Dan like kind of shuffled around, and they both just kind of looked, like they stopped in mid sentence and both like looked directly at the camera because that's where Dan is, which was an amazing clip out of context because they both just stopped and just looked at the camera silently.
So
Awesome.
good.
But then like it continues, and Dan's just like running away from a mouse. But like stuff like that happens, and then other times they spend like Luke spends like an hour talking about like one AI model, and that's all that happens for an hour.
That's the apocalyptic nightmare that we're in.
Yep.
Yep.
Luke had a
Yeah.
hell of a 2023. Like that was his year for AI. Like he was excited.
See, I'm not against AI, but I will do harm to the next person that talks to me about it.
Right. So
Yeah.
that's why I'm going to be very cautious.
Yeah.
In the coming
Good.
few weeks.
That's good for you, Brady. That's
Mhm.
good for your health.
Yep.
Brady, thanks for coming on.
I'm happy to be here.
Before you go, Brady,
Yes.
do you think me and Honor should listen to Chuckle Sandwich?
Yes. And I'm going to make this happen. Sam, you're going to listen to Chuckle Sandwich.
Honor has the biggest
Bad boy.
grin I've ever seen in my. I can't. God, this no swearing thing is killer. I don't like this at all.
I can't wait for this.
I mean, we can just decide to be an explicit podcast.
I mean,
We haven't published
if
anything.
this episode says E on it, then you know what happened. But if it doesn't, I'm really looking forward to all these edits Sam has thrown together on this
Why?
episode.
Why? I've given myself so much work.
Nice work, Sam.
Yeah.
No time.
4 more explosions. That was awesome.
Okay, that was pretty cool though. I mean, that was
Yeah.
pretty good. All right, Honor.
Yep.
Next week,
Chuckle Sandwich.
Chuckle Sandwich.
Book Club.
Book Club. God. This podcast may not survive long because I may not survive long. That's good. Well, Brady, thanks for coming on and destroying our podcast.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
anytime.
Brady, where can the good people of the internet find you?
Well, I got rid of a bunch of social media because all of the sites are bad now. But
Sure.
I basically, if you want to see me, you can go to youtube.com/Bradius, and that's just B and then radius. Unlike how some people pronounce it Bradius, that doesn't make me mad at all. But yeah, Bradius, Bradius. You know how to spell. I trust you. And then if you want bonus stuff that why would you want anything?
Why
like
would
that?
you-
Why would you want anything bonus related to Bradius?
Why would you want any less?
Right? Yeah.
It's exclusively what I use my YouTube app for, and that's
Yeah.
a half a joke.
Yeah.
I think the 3 things I've watched in the last month, 2 of them have been Bradius videos.
And
So.
then if you want more Bradius or whatever, Bradius Bits. That's the second channel. It's
Bradius
all
Bits.
my backlog of projects and all the bonus videos that I don't really feel like are a Bradius episode and all the extra junk that I got lying around. That's where you can find all the extra content after you've watched everything that's good on the Bradius channel within an hour and a half.
Awesome.
That's great.
So
That's
there you
great.
go.
I don't have
That's how you
Wi-Fi.
can find me.
Do that.
Fantastic. And listeners, you can find us where you're currently listening to us. Stay here.
Wow.
Stay
We'll
here.
be back
So
in a week.
convenient.
Don't go anywhere.
Don't
No.
leave.
Subscribe, follow whatever your podcast platform of choice does. Give us a review. We'll read it. Send
We
us an
will.
email. We'll read it.
Podpodcastcast
Podpodcast
at gmail.com.
Drive a deeper wedge between me and Honor.
Yeah.
Make us divide it.
I'm looking forward to the fight episode.
The fight
Oh, yeah.
episode coming out next week, I guess, because that's what we're doing for Chuckle Sandwich.
We'll see.
I'm so happy that this happened.
Oh,
It's gonna be
me
awesome.
too.
I'm
You're
so
welcome.
glad you
You're
brought
welcome,
it up.
listeners.
It feels like never mind. I was gonna say it feels like I'm surrounded by Satan, but I'm surrounded by friends that love me.
A warm
I
hug.
guess.
Yeah.
A warm hug from Satan.
A
We
warm hug
do.
from Satan. Well, thanks, guys. Thanks for throwing me into the eternal fires of damnation. I appreciate it.
Also known as Jay Schlatt.
Also known as Jay Schlatt.
Exciting. All right. Well,
Bye. Bye.
those are pretty good.
Sorry.
No, your bye
bye
was
is
really
really
echoey.
Oh, cool. Well,
I was
it's extra
extra
now.
Bye. Goodbye.